Andrew Wilson is having such a hard time dealing with his loss in the debate with Candace. It's really something to see. He cannot accept defeat. I have rarely seen somebody in such a state of denial. It's truly something to watch. He can't admit it. He's going around telling everyone that he won. And I want to take a look at that today. And also want to take a look at what Candace has been up to since yesterday or in the last day or so. We'll take a look at her X feed and what's been going on there and go over some things that she had on her show yesterday. She showed some never before seen footage that we'll get into a little bit. All that coming up. I'm JP. This is Truth Probe. Welcome in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll say that real quick, but I want to get right into it. Let's go over some things on X that are happening right now. Candace had on her show yesterday, she posted a thing that was like a preview of what was going to happen on her show. She said a never before seen video from September 10th, which raises some more questions. A former CIA agent points out obvious reasons the Charlie Kirk assassination reeks of a conspiracy. And also Joe Rogan and friends having a laugh at the absurdity of Erica Kirk's PR. So that's what we saw on her show yesterday. And if you caught it, it was a good one. So I highly recommend you go watch it. Candace also writes, and she's talking about this post that Kaniqua the Great wrote, and she's talking about this filing here. She says, breaking. Prosecutors filed their final brief in the Tyler Robinson case today, ahead of Judge Graff's September 1st bind-over hearing. The state writes that Robinson does not challenge the substance of the evidence, demonstrating that he was the person who crawled to the prone position, and I'm paraphrasing now. She goes over all the evidence, like he got into position, he took the shot, he ran off the roof, jumped down, crossed the street and hid the rifle and so on. And she's presenting that like this filing is evidence. Well, Candace writes, this is the prosecution's argument. Can you guys please stop quoting the prosecution's filing as evidence of what the defendant did or did not do? It's unbearably low effort slop. We the people deserve better psyops. So that's absolutely true. This is not evidence. This is what they're arguing. This is proof of nothing. Candace writes, and she's talking about a clip that Coyote of Wall Street dropped regarding Andrew Wilson's wife, Rachel Wilson. And Coyote wrote, shake harder, crazy lady. Wife of Andrew Wilson protects him, or something like that. And then the video, and then I'll tell you what Candace said about it. We'll watch the video first.
Oh, he apologized.
How about you don't physically attack my husband? How about you don't come over around the table and shove his chair thinking you can get away with that
I can't believe it's been like over a year and you still have, I get it because we haven't met personally, but you did berate me already.
Hang on, let's just pretend your husband came across.
No, I get it. I get what you mean.
You did the same exact thing to her.
You motherfucker.
I say.
If you're going to talk shit to me, no, not right now. I'm not talking about right now. I'm saying if you're going to talk shit, I'm saying and the other time, if you're going to talk shit, if you're going to mock me and ridicule me, then expect me to be a self-advocate.
Oh, shake harder, crazy lady.
Not so much fun now. Somebody can defend me.
No, it's not so much fun when she has to confront somebody who can defend themselves.
In a lot of cultures, it would be very embarrassing to have your wife
In a lot of cultures, it would be embarrassing to get your face punched in by that guy's wife.
Hey, guys, no violence.
Okay, so
no
are
violence.
you threatening?
Yeah, he's just loving that, isn't he? Look at that. Look at that face. He loves it. This guy, unbelievable. I'm going to get into some comments about what happened. Some comments from yesterday's show about this, because he's really making a lot of people open their eyes. But anyway, Candace writes about this video she posts. It's just shocking that these girls are the people TPUSA now pays to train their students. How can the organization fall this hard and this quickly away from what and who Charlie was? These people belong on reruns of Jerry Springer and Maury when you're homesick from school. I have zero tolerance for the people still trying to convince us that Erica is some godly woman, and when this is who and what she authorizes to go fight her battles. And talking about Andrew, obviously. That's very well said. Candace also writes here, she's responding to just a dude who posted classy guy, and he's talking about a post that Andrew dropped back in April, and he's talking about Erica. He says, has nothing to do with Erica Kirk. She's a terrible leader and a femcon like the rest of TPUSA. And a moron. The principle here is what I'm speaking to. And Candace writes, okay, but to be fair, I think He actually proved this claim by getting her to pay him to train TPUSA students less than 2 months after he sent this tweet. So he sent this tweet insulting Erica and calling her a moron and retarded, I believe was in the other clip. And after that, 2 months after that, Erica and TPUSA hired him to come in and train their debaters. Does that make any sense at all? Make that make sense. And some more things on X. Now, this interview with Dave Smith and Candace went on Dave Smith's show, and they had it was about an hour interview or discussion, and it was really good. And actually, I'm going to play a little bit of it today, but I'm thinking about tomorrow doing a deep dive on this conversation, because this was about Candace's reaction, how she feels she did in the debate, a little bit of the inside baseball type of thing, what happened before the debate, and both of their thoughts on it. And I've done some reviews on Andrew Wilson and Dave Smith's debate that they had a couple years back. And I wasn't too happy about what I saw with Andrew Wilson. That was one of the first times I saw him. And so I was particularly interested to see on Dave Smith's show how this interview would go with Candace. So I think I will look at this a little bit deeper tomorrow, but I'll just play a little bit of it for you today.
I think it's good to have these debates, and it's good kind of for people to see them. Look, this is obviously, this is a huge topic. This was the biggest political assassination in modern history, which is weird, modern, I mean, saying like post 60s or whatever. This is like the biggest political assassination in America in me and your lifetimes. It is a thing that, let's just say, huge swaths of the American people are not buying the official story on, and wherever you are on what you think is real, I think certainly we could probably all agree that, well, like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, once the FBI took over this investigation, there's just no credibility from the state. And so nobody trusts anything they say. It's interesting to have these debates and the pushback on them.
And that was kind of what I was trying to demonstrate early on. As soon as he said 75%, why does he have a problem with people thinking about what would be to him 25%, right? Why does he have a problem with people stepping outside and saying, I'm looking at the evidence and I'm interpreting it in a different way? And the reason why I knew that he did not watch the preliminary hearing was because he was completely lost on the point that I was trying to make when I said, I can keep explaining this to you, but I can't understand this for you. Where they are at in terms of where he gathered what he perceives to be overwhelming evidence was during the probative hearing. The standard at the probative hearing is you can just look at a piece of evidence and then you can infer what you want. The prosecution is basically doing what Candace Owens is doing on her podcast, right? So the prosecution is looking at a person in a maroon shirt and saying, that looks like Tyler Robinson to me. Because they're both wearing Converse sneakers. He actually said this, lead investigator. They couldn't even connect how the person in the maroon shirt coming up the stairwell was also the person who was coming up the stairwell in the black shirt. They asked that question. How do you know these are actually even the same two people? And he comes back and he says, because they're both wearing Converse. I think it's not Tyler Robinson. Why is one called a conspiracy theory and the other one called overwhelming evidence just because it's coming out of the mouth of a lead investigator? That's just his opinion, which, by the way, is allowed at this stage of the hearing. But he couldn't understand what was hypocritical about him constantly calling people conspiracy theorists, demanding further evidence when he was doing the exact same thing by saying, well, I find everything that they did at the probative hearing to be convincing evidence. And I recognized immediately that he did not spend any time watching the hearing. He didn't comprehend. He didn't research anything. And it was going to be a cakewalk. And that was why he wanted to move away from discussing the evidence. I wanted to keep going on and discussing the screwdriver and discussing the towel and all of these elements that I think would have made the debate more interesting for people to listen to. And he was like, no. I just want to move towards questioning you about things you said about Erica Kirk, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to get off that evidence real quick. Like that part of it was over so fast that I was like, why are they moving on? They haven't covered anything. They didn't talk about anything. And it was because he didn't know. He didn't know the details of it. And he realized that as she was talking, he was learning. And he was trying to think of what to say on the fly. And he knew he was going to lose that one. So he really quickly wanted to move on to let me pepper you with questions and see if I can salvage this debacle. So that was interesting. I think tomorrow I'm going to take a closer look at this conversation that they had, unless something happens. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'll probably plan on doing that. And also on X, they had a little bit here. I wanted to show you this about Stu Peters was asking where was Blake Neff on the morning of 9/10, because this has been kind of a point of contention too. It's like, why is it so hard to get a timeline from where Blake Neff was on 9/10 and 9/11? It all seems to be a blur, like he's in some kind of a fog or something. He doesn't know where he was, and we got contradictions. Here's Frank Turk saying something that flies against what Blake Neff has said. Let's take a listen.
So we got up on Wednesday morning and headed for Utah Valley University. And we were peppering Charlie with questions on the way because he was constantly trying to learn better ways to answer questions, to serve students. And it wasn't just me. Blake Neff came. As many of you know Blake, if you watch Charlie's show, Blake is on occasionally. Charlie calls Blake the most intelligent person he's ever met. He said, Blake is my number one weapon. And so Blake is, in fact, when I was talking to Blake, Charlie said, hey, ask Blake to tell you all the Roman emperors. So I said, Blake, go. And he just blow right through them all. I'm like, whoa. He just knows history. He knows politics. He knows so much about a lot. And so Blake has been a mentor to Charlie as well and would help him deal with some of the hardest issues and the hardest questions.
Blake was a mentor to Charlie. These people must think we are the dumbest population ever. I mean, how could they expect us to believe that this guy, Blake Neff, was a mentor to Charlie Kirk? They have single-handedly destroyed his podcast. It has millions of subscribers, Charlie Kirk Show, and these guys have reduced it to probably a couple thousand views a day, maybe not even that some days. It's truly amazing to watch. Let's listen to a little bit more of this.
Just think back, you were there. So
well, okay.
How many security would you have had?
Charlie, the amount of security Charlie would have, I mean, you would have Dan, you would have Brian Harpole, and among other things, yeah, I just don't remember. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head the exact number.
Yeah, well, hey, he didn't have Brian Harpole with him because Brian was already at UVU.
So wait, hold on. Isn't that what you said in Utah?
At the Savory Fund interview with Andrew Smith before he went to UVU.
And prior, I wasn't at that event. I was in the other SUV.
So where were you in between time? When you got off the plane, where did you go?
I was in the other SUV.
Did you go straight to? Did you go straight to UVU?
We had two SUVs. I was in the one Charlie wasn't in, and I was somewhere. I actually have no idea where they parked it.
What do you mean you don't know where you were?
I'd never been to Utah before. We had.
So you got off the plane with Charlie. You jumped in the other SUV. Where did you go?
We went somewhere.
That's about as concrete of an answer as you're going to get out of Blake. So I want to show this new movie that Candace played on her show yesterday. It was really good. I'm going to play it for you right now.
Erica, what are you doing out here?
Shabbat Shalom. I choose you, Pickle Puff.
Positive evidence.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
Positive evidence.
Pickle Puff, attack.
Positive evidence. Positive evidence.
Pickle Puff, do something.
Positive evidence.
This was a terrible investment.
Positive evidence.
Who's that Pokemon? It's Shapiro.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. That is just so funny. For rational people that saw the debate and know that Andrew got smushed into the ground and broken into little tiny pieces, and then to watch him on his podcast just talk about how he destroyed her. It's like, I'm wondering who is listening to this, who is watching this and believing what he's saying. Now, the footage that Candace dropped yesterday, let's take a look at this leading up to the point where we haven't seen before. Let's watch.
In this footage that Terrell has selectively shared with Candace, we can't see the ground where Charlie had been sitting. You're probably thinking, okay, So what? Well, I'll tell you what. Actually, I'll show you what. On February 28th, 2025, the American Comeback Tour did a stop at Florida State University, and here is the back camera shot. On March 3rd, 2025, the American Comeback Tour did a stop at the University of Southern California, and here is the back camera shot. Here's San Francisco, here's San Diego, Long Beach, Boise, Idaho, Washington State. Do you notice a pattern? The camera is a wide-angle camera and was always used as such. However, in the footage that Terrell has selectively shared with Candace, you cannot see the ground. So either that day at UVU, they had changed things up and they had zoomed in the camera so that you couldn't see the area around Charlie, or Terrell had zoomed in after the fact and he was showing a cropped version of the footage to Candace.
That's exactly what it was. They sent, the only thing that we've seen so far is a zoomed in, cropped version of that footage. We've never seen the wide angle shot from behind. And it's been a point of contention, and it's something that people have been watching for a long time. Well, we know that Terrell took the SD cards out of one of the cameras that we can see on video. He left the other cameras alone. He didn't get the SD card out of those, but he did take it out of that one that was behind Charlie. And then he kind of went around the corner of the tent and went, and that's where we hadn't seen. We couldn't see what happened after that up until now. Candace showed us footage yesterday, and now we know what happened. Let's watch.
Contrary to what Andrew Colvett is saying, there was something special about that footage behind Charlie's head, and Terrell beelined to it in particular. And he was nervous about that footage in particular because he did not instantly grab all of the SD cards. He grabbed that one and he did it nervously. That's what people saw. He was looking around to see who was watching him as he took only the SD card from that camera before he disappears behind the tent. Let's watch that together. Here he is. Here he is. He's taking down the camera altogether. If you're worried about theft, take the whole camera. It's pretty small. It's in your hand. He doesn't do that. He takes it apart and he takes the SD card out. And he looks around. He wants to see who's looking at him. And then he looks down at it and he walks around. And we had wondered, what did Terrell do when he walked around? He hasn't addressed any other camera there, just that one. Well, you don't have to wonder what he did anymore because today I can tell you what Terrell did because I've actually known what Terrell did since October. Here is what Terrell did thereafter, seen for the first time. Terrell is there. He looks around, again, nervously, and he puts the SD card in his pocket, and he zips up. He doesn't run to the other cameras and try to grab the SD card. Instead, what he does is he whips out his phone, and he begins texting with someone. And that's what he does. He's texting with someone to say what? Who's he texting? What's he saying?
Great questions. And this is going to be studied for a while now because it's the first time that we're seeing this. And we need to know what he was doing. And it's outrageous that we haven't been able to find out, that no one's questioned him, that we don't know the answers to these things. We need to know the answers. And I think that we need to keep pushing as hard as we can. I want to read some comments from yesterday because he had some really good ones. And honestly, I would say probably 95% of the comments that I'm getting out of hundreds and hundreds of comments are coming in favor of Candace and negative to Andrew. Lots of people are saying, I used to like Andrew and this debate changed everything. So it just makes me wonder how far BSing your way through life can get you. How far can it get you when you're just acting like you know what you're talking about? That confidence that you show when you're just kind of BSing your way through something. Lots of people do it and they create a whole life around that. And I have a feeling that's what was happening here. Mikhail says to the video we did yesterday, which was talking about Andrew's copium, Mikhail 5702 says, good idea. A novel angle would be to explore coping in Andrew Wilson's broadcast, something that, as far as I can tell, no one else on the internet has covered in depth. One tip, look at the reasons why people resist changing their views. You could explore the psychology behind this, including selective perception, rationalization, confirmation bias, cognitive dissonance, and other ways people protect their existing beliefs. Coping can also involve cognitive and emotional strategies for dealing with experiences that challenge previously held assumptions. This could give your analysis a more original psychological angle. And I said, love it. Well said. Yes, that's a very good idea. And thank you for that comment. Also, we have Amalgan 7317. LOL, love it. The Betraytrix. Challenging Wilson with Erica was a scream. Bernardery says, good job. The debate was the first time I'd ever seen Andrew. He's hard to watch. I went in with an open mind because I used to like Candace a lot more, but lately she seems a little more on the conspiracy side of things, although I lean her way in most of her topics. But Andrew calling women retarded and calling Candace a chick was so disrespectful. Who watches this dude? Another one, Greed Jones 3741. I appreciate you cleaning up the earpiece incident. I was thinking the same thing. If she was being fed information, would he not have heard it? And also, why did he not call it out when it was happening? So that was something we talked about in yesterday's show. If you missed it, I'll link it to this video. They were all listening to the same channel on their earpiece. They had an earpiece in, and they were all being given instructions, and they could hear the audio through the earpiece. Nothing was being fed to anyone, and we proved that in yesterday's show. So if you haven't watched it, then I'll link it to this video. That's going to probably do it for this show today. I appreciate everyone watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to get a hold of me on X, JP Truth Probe, or email me at jptruthprobe@gmail.com. I do enjoy reading your comments, so don't forget to leave me a comment. Thanks for watching. Catch my other content on the channel if you haven't. Stay clean, stay safe, stay sober. See you in the next video.